Go, Brent.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host, and today I want to let everyone know that you can check out the podcast on your favorite app, your Spotify, your App Store, and the iTunes or iPhone or whatever you want to call it. It's available wherever it's suitable for you. Today, I have an announcement that I want to make just before we get the show going. Now, many of you know I love to travel, trains are something that I've always liked since I was a kid, and one of my dreams was to take a little trip, and that's what I'm going to be doing later this month. I'm taking a little trip all the way from Vancouver, British Columbia to Toronto, Ontario. So it's one I've been on my bucket list since I was really young. Something that I've always wanted to do. That's what's going to be happening. So if you're wondering why there's no shows for a while, well, that'll be it. And
we're not canceling the podcast. We're just putting it on pause for a couple, actually probably about 3 weeks or so.
And spend some quality time with some family and stuff. So it's going to be great.
You might do a little bit of recording. We'll see, right?
I might do a little breaking with Brent on location. Never know.
Yeah.
So
we'll make another announcement next week, just so people are aware, because we know if we don't make announcements, people freak out. Like, where's the podcast?
And I've been saving up for quite some time, a little bits here and there, and it's been hard. It's been, to be honest, it's been really, really difficult. Cut here, cut there, right? And just it adds up over time. And I decided to get the ticket on off-peak season, so it's been a lot cheaper for me too. And so it's something that I've always. It's been on my bucket list and something I've always wanted to do, and why not, right? I mean, enjoy life to what I can anyway. And some people envy, saying, "Oh my gosh, I mean, how can you do that?" Right? Well, it's just something that I figured either do it or don't do it, right? And rather than being procrastinating and putting it off, it's something that I've just kind of been itching to do. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's one of those travel segments. By breaking with Brent travel segments. But anyway, to get the show on the go today, well, I want to welcome all my panelists that are joining me today, and all the viewers that are listening live and maybe on the podcast afterwards here.
And we have Patrick and Tom. Patrick's never been on for a while with the group.
It's been a while,
nice.
It's awesome to have you join us, Patrick, and it's always an honor to have you on the show, but also as a panelist on the show. And today's topic will be: should Canada's disabled either fear, or should they? I don't know. I mean, kind of really fear the Conservative government. If the Conservative government was to form federally, which there is a high probability that could happen, but it depends on the voters. It also depends on the voters. If you don't want a Conservative government, you got to make that decision, get out there. But what we're saying here on the podcast is, now, should the Canadians with disabilities fear a Conservative government? What is it in our interest?
Well, I'm just going to stop you there, Brent, because actually it was MJ. It was MJ's idea. He's not here today, but it was MJ's idea for the show. Actually, it was kind of his idea, and he made sure that I changed the title to should Canada's disabled fear or embrace. He wanted me to make sure that I added the fear or embrace. So we're gonna debate that. Should it be feared, or should it be embraced by Canada's disabled?
Yeah, that's going to be a big topic today. And so let's dive right in. Today's going to be a little bit of a shorter show. So people are saying, wow, hey, that's a pretty cut and dry show. There's a lot on the go today, but we'll be doing a follow-up with this show with other feedback in the future date. First of all, I'm going to start with Tom right away. And then I'll actually get Neil to direct it around to from that point on.
We'll go counterclockwise. Counterclockwise, starting with Tom.
Subject or just kind of hi. Hi, my name's Tom, and I'm commonly known as Tom, the BIVIC BC guy on X, but it's really Twitter. So let's see. Within my background is very much lefty, so it's pretty easy to see which way I'd probably go here. But at the same time, one of the biggest lights in the movement for basic income has always been Senator Hugh Segal. And it's like there are progressive conservatives as well as conservatives who are more, let's just say, not progressive. So some people can be on board with creating better policy. And there's also, I was just thinking about this, like, what am I going to say? There's also the fact, like, what's her name? Michelle Rempel, I believe it is, MP from, I think, Calgary, who said it, which is that, if my constituents all want something, then I'm its biggest fan. Now, I know that doesn't always happen, but, like, they're supposed to represent you. And if everyone's kind of like, I don't know, it's like, it should work that way, but I know that it doesn't always. I mean, all I have to do is, defer to the disability minister. But it's also, I think there's also something to be said for the fact that there's the thought of, like, all of this is caused by the certain government. So it's like, okay, well, then we could try this other government and see if they actually do that. My own opinion on it is no, which comes from the fact that so much of the beginnings of neoliberalism came from the conservative side, and that was this stuff about in the 1980s, which all three leaders at the time were all about getting everything out of the way of the market, and that included any forms of protection. Like, it was like Mulroney in about 86 cut all federal funding to provinces for forms of social security. And then eventually you get to Mike Harcourt saying, no, he was NDP, but saying what he said. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like the left picked up what the right had already been putting out like crazy all over the world. Yeah. So you kind of got both. I mean, like, basically it's all like both of them are neoliberal now. Yeah. And it's moving both of them away from that. Mm. But at the same time, it's kind of, it's kind of interesting, frustrating. I don't know, where, like, right now, for the last 10 years in England, America, Canada, you've had a conservative government in England, both in America, liberal in Canada, and you have the same problems in all three places. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's almost like the problems are kind of above them, or it's connected to the lobbying to do with them, or like the Renteism that I've talked about before. So it could go either way depending, but you can always bring it. Like, I feel like it's naturally going there. It's kind of like, I don't know who said it, but often politics is all about kick the bums out. It's like, they've had their 8 years, here we go with these guys. So I think it could very easily go that way.
All the parties,
all I can say is hope for the best.
Yeah, all the parties should just change their names to oppressive. and then progressive policies. Yeah, oppressive instead of conservative, oppressive. Yeah. Anyway, we'll go next to Minnie.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
Cheers.
Minnie?
She's thinking.
Yeah, I'm thinking because I never really, politics was just there in the background. And because my family are immigrants, if it wasn't for liberal, I wouldn't be here. So there's just like the whole immigrants are mostly here because of liberal people that I think. I don't remember conservatives letting anybody in the country. So just that. But I may be conservative because my boyfriend is. Mm-hmm. So his influence on me has probably migrated. And then when I had to look up the beliefs of the Conservative Party, because I vote, but I'm not exactly sure what I'm voting for. I just know the country balances back and forth between liberal and conservative. But then NDP was supposed to be the neutral everybody party.
Yeah.
And when we had the premier going on and NDP was the balance of the number of how much they want to increase ODSP, because I didn't think, even though Nikki Ward was in my building trying to canvass, I was like, I don't think you could do it. And Liberal was the same thing. Liberal paid me $30 to consult on their campaign. And I said, I don't trust anything you say right now, but I need my money.
Yeah.
And I invoiced them like $100 for my consultation fee. Their budget was only $30. So they don't respect our knowledge or experience for people with disabilities to begin with.
Yeah.
And then when I go back to what it says on the website for Conservative Party of Canada, they're claiming freedom, rights, responsibilities for everybody. Who's that for? Is it white people or BIPOC people? Black, Indigenous, people of color, like all the immigrants are bringing into the country because they're always having babies, which means they have more people in the economy that they can't actually have them have jobs unless they do a job fair that's around the building.
Yeah.
Oh.
The Toronto airport had a job fair and a couple of videos on TikTok showed up. It was a crowd of thousands of people maybe getting a job depending on when they got in. I remember doing that for Cineplex. Cineplex had a job fair. I got there pretty early. I got my job. They hired me for $8.75 an hour for 6 hours waiting there.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that no more. I'm too tired. There's no way you're going to tell me, oh, there's jobs and then there's a job fair and then we go there. There's 5,000 people there. Woodbine Racetrack did the same thing. I'm just not. Either I get the job or I'm self-employed. And then that's the thing. What tax bracket are you in? Are you a low income tax bracket person, a medium income tax bracket person, or a higher income tax bracket? Because everything comes down to who's paying taxes, who's claiming you're going to be paid less taxes, and then who's going to protect the people that are paying taxes that are rich, in the middle, or below the income poverty line. And if we're below the income poverty line people, our vote doesn't really do a whole lot because our tax money doesn't go anywhere. Like if we're both right now, you have to make like $15,000 on your tax return to not have your income taxed. Like the basic income. Most of us are getting that because we're on disability. We're not getting past $15,000 unless we're working. And if you're working, okay, how much money are you actually making? Did you make $30,000 or more from working? No. Yes, maybe it's honorariums, and honorariums, they typically try to find a way to pay you less money, less than minimum wage, because they try to hide the honorarium money in a gift card that already goes to the big corporations that we're trying to boycott, like Loblaws. Yeah. So politics, okay, fine, sure, but it only benefits white people. So like, I'm not scared of them. What are they going to do to me? More than they already done already?
Yeah. Well, you actually make a good point, Minnie, because it was just the other day, like maybe 1 or 2 days ago, and I forget where I heard it from. So I they always say you should quote your sources, but I forget where I heard it from. But there was somebody, I think it was online, that said one of the biggest issues right now in Canada is that our immigrant numbers are far outstripping our ability to keep with the job number. There's not enough jobs to support all the people that we're bringing in. Like there's no balance there. It's just like there's way more immigrants than there are jobs. And
you know what? That's sorry. I don't buy that, and because there are lots of jobs, there just aren't jobs we want to do.
That's true too.
I drove a truck to farm to farm, supplying migrant farmers with what they needed. Cooking supplies, hygiene products, and then barrels and boxes to send back to West Indies. And to pick crops for 12 hours a day for minimum wage, yeah, those jobs are there. And we're bringing people in. It's basically slavery, but we call it something else, temporary foreign worker.
Yeah.
That's what it is. The jobs are there. It's just, they're not ones we want to do.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, that's good to have your comment on that, because, yeah, like I mean, there's over over 1 million people or something that have come into Canada in the last year. It's like, wow, that's crazy. And now it's like the federal government saying, "Oops, did we do that? Maybe we shouldn't let that many people."
Well,
in."
and the other thing to go along with that, now we'll get to you, Ellen. Don't worry. The other thing to go along with that, they always talk about, that there's always talk about that the full-time jobs are being cut in favor of part-time jobs, right? So not only do you have lower paying jobs, but you have way more people doing part-time work versus the full-time work, right? So like when they say that we like they always put numbers out every month, like we that the economy grew by 2,000 jobs or whatever, but or 10,000 or whatever the number is, but they'll say like how many of those 10,000 jobs are actual full-time jobs, and they're typically that's the low number, and and the high number is how many jobs you're actually losing that were full-time, right? Anyway, we'll go to Ellen now for comment.
Depends on the day you ask me. I'm feeling a little skeptical today, so buckle up. As far as the government, I see the thing is that people with disabilities from a government standpoint have been gaslit so much for so long that as soon as they tell us that they're going to do something, we immediately become skeptical. It's like, oh, you want to hand us an apple, but you're still going to dangle the carrot, and we're waiting for the donkey to kick us.
Yeah.
At the same time. So I'm one of these people that I believe in policy, not politicians, because I think a lot of them are trained and skilled to lie while they breathe, right? And the moment that you trust one is the moment you might as well get near the donkey.
Yeah.
So I don't think the NDP have a fighting chance of getting in. I think the only thing they can do is if the Liberals win, the NDP can apply some more pressure. But I'm really disappointed in Jagmeet Singh overall. I think he should have joined hand me the paycheck and I'll keep my mouth shut except about what I'm allowed to talk about. So I don't know. It's a hard call. I won't go down the rabbit hole too much, but I don't know if Pierre got in, whether he would fund the disability benefit because it makes him look good. He seems like one of these people that likes to wear the happy-go-lucky, everybody's winning hat when it suits him. So would he see the disability benefit as a way to up his popularity by doing it, or would he there were so many people across the board when they made it to royal assent that was so for on both sides of the bench. It's really hard to tell what the Conservatives would do. Would they want to look like the good guys, the knights in the white armor, and say, hey, the Liberals have gaslit those poor people on disability for too long and we're going to do something about it? And if he does, how much would it be? If the Liberals plan to say, give us $800 a month, right? Let's say that was their plan if they got in and the Liberals got in and they said, okay, we're going to fund this and we're going to make it $800 a month on top of what everybody else gets. But we have no guarantee that if the Conservatives get in and do it, whether it's going to be the same amount or less or more. So it's going to be a game of Russian roulette, no matter what the outcome of an election is. And I think that's all I got to add to that.
Yeah, thank you on that, Alan.
We'll get to you in a minute there, Minnie, but I just wanted to get to Patrick again. to see if you had any other comment from your previous one.
Oh, always. But
okay.
I'm just thinking that, fair disclosure, there was a time in my life when I was a member of the selection committee for the local PC party to find a candidate to run in our election, until there was a kind of a sex scandal involving some of the donors, and I said, hell with this. Anyways, you can look it up. But I believe that it really doesn't matter who's in. All government's job is to serve themselves. All government's job is to get reelected, and to give the minimum amount that is required to get reelected. Now, as far as should we fear conservatives, the one thing I will say about conservatives is they get out and vote, and they make sure that there's shuttles available to take people to go vote. It's like going to church. There's certain people that will pick you up and take you to church. Like they're the same with the election. The Liberals started picking that up. NDP have never really heard of them grabbing a bus and helping people get to the polling station. But the interesting thing is, because they all vote, the policies that they introduce are what matter to their voters. And I believe that with the majority of conservatives tending to be over 50, I don't hope that they all become disabled, but I know that they will. As age-related disability happens, policies that matter to disabled people will become more priority because it matters to them. And right now, what is it, 1 in 5 of us that has something significant? So, we're kind of screwed. Yeah, until they get it, and then we'll all be, singing the blues, I guess. But that's why it kind of bothers me that Liberals are going around, with the 12 days of Christmas budget, introducing all these little things that appeal to people who don't vote. Like, are you stupid? Anyway,
We'll go back to Minnie now for comment. Go ahead.
I was just laughing at Patrick's comment about hoping they all get disabled, because I wish that too. But
just one day in the shoes,
it still goes back to how much money do they have to take care of their disability.
Exactly.
So even if they all, let's say most of them get a disability, if they have a lot of assets, if they can hire a home care nurse, if they can hire the best private doctor or travel the world and get treatment, they're going to do it because they have the money. And then as I go through this constitution of the Conservative Party, it says in there a belief in the value of dignity of all human life, a belief in the value of equality of all Canadians, then the right to own property. We have a housing problem. And then the right for equality life or something it was.
Property right there.
dignity of all human life. So dignity of all human life. Okay, the amount of people that are on disability but below the poverty line are not living a dignified life. What happened when they wrote the Constitution?
Oops.
The Constitution, they updated 2018. You find it online. You know me finding stuff online. If I find it online, I find it online. But this 21-page document, I can pick apart the whole thing and find, they're not doing that. What do you mean about that?
It's like nothing to see here. No, what? Hang on.
And if I read, let's say I read the other party's Constitution, if they have one, I'm going to find the same problem in all of them. Like I do with the disability policy for Ontario or British Columbia, because they make their declaration, they make it in writing, they claim these are their promises, they claim this is their code of conduct, and they're not doing it.
Well,
then how do we get these people out? I think Alberta or some mayor is trying to be voted out by the constituents because they made a petition of like 70,000 signatures or something. I don't know if we've done that before, because some people don't really need to be running whatever they're running, but they're still there. Like Ford is now round 2. If he wins again, we're still screwed.
Yeah.
And I read his poverty
Although-
reduction strategy. So his poverty reduction strategy is heavily, heavily on people going back to work, which is why he raised minimum wage,
Yep.
$17.20 an hour come October 1st. And then, okay, great. ODSP is going to increase to inflation in July, but there's nothing for Ontario Works at $733 a month, which is
Exactly.
typically where most people start off if they're
Yeah.
in between jobs or disabled or coming to the country once they're eligible because they don't have access to all the benefits and programs we have in the country. We're still, and then, oh yeah, right to own property. How many people are dragging their feet on building houses for people so that people that want a house with a yard and good school districts can move over there so that people that want to still live in the big city, because that's where usually you get access to your healthcare services.
Yeah.
Like the lady in Vancouver who needed the lung transplant, but some other immigrant family who had money donated his money to help her move closer to the hospital in the bigger city so she can move up the list on the transplant list, then get her transplant. Because she had to prove she had enough income for 3 to 6 months to be there in recovery after getting her transplant of her new lungs. When she had money, it disappeared, taking her health. Then we're waiting for strangers to help us and donate their money because, it's just too many things that the government says, oh, we'll do. And then when we go look for those things, they're not there.
That's always that magic word. There's always more to do. There's always more to do. But then it gets done.
You know what I was gonna, as I was going to say, and I might get pushback for this comment, but I think I've said it before. We have the SPCA for cruelty with animals, and if you lock a dog or a cat in a car for, in a hot car, you can be fined up to $75,000 for cruelty, right? But and it was last summer or just this past summer where, and again, like I actually really like John Horgan. Like I've said, like I'll go on the record and say he was one of the better premiers we've had in a long time. So I actually like the guy, but I remember when we had that hot summer. And there was all those people that died in those SROs, remember? And he made the comment and he said, well, that's what happens when you get old. Remember, he kind of just did that dismissive comment of, well, that's what happens when you get old. And it's like, you can't say that. You can't say that. The reason why people died is that they didn't have access to proper cooling.
Air conditioning.
It wasn't because they were old and they just died. I'm prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt there, but he shouldn't have said that. And the idea that people that lock a dog in a car can get fined for $75,000, but our governments can abuse people and kill people in a heat dome because they don't have access to air conditioning. That to me is kind of disgusting, honestly.
Well, I remember there was a time there too, Neil, where there was also the previous administration where Miss Clark, when she was the premier, Christy Clark, where she was talking about dogs, the SPCA, about dogs versus people with disabilities.
Right.
I mean, it was that same narrative. Like it was, I don't know. Maybe it's just like copy paste. I don't know, but it just seems that trend.
Yeah. Let's look after our dogs. Yeah.
Nice connection, Christy.
Yeah. You go ahead, Tom, because you're next to speak anyway.
That's why they changed the frickin' name is because of her.
Yeah.
And if you can't afford things, just move up north.
Yeah.
If you can't afford things, just move up north, right?
Yeah, it's like one thing to always remember. It's like Pierre is courting Canadians right now. Like he's like the suitor trying to get back in, and so. Of course, he's going to make it look as good as possible. So this is as good as he can possibly make it. So when he's not actually, he doesn't actually have a plan that's going to help you. It's like, that's what you remember is that right now he's going full blast. I was even thinking about how, like, even with Kahara, who drives, everyone crazy, it's like, it's almost like, they remind me of working in production, like I was in film production before, and how you wouldn't kind of put anything out there until you'd kind of heard from above, like, so it's almost like there's the whole plan that they all have, and then the lobbyists are connected to that and everything else. And so one of them can't move on its own unless it's kind of got, the okay from above. And, that's like, I remember, who is it? The guy who does the economic stuff, Russell Matthews, talking about how Trudeau said to Freeland, "Don't do anything permanent." So it's like they all kind of listen to what's coming up from on high there, and I imagine the Conservatives are pretty much the same way. Then there's also about how you were talking about how jobs have changed, and of course that immediately makes me think of the precariat, which is what you have me, and immediately I start talking about guy standing, but yeah, like that situations I've been reading. Like I'm right now going through a book based in India back in 2008, I think, or something like that. And yeah, he was talking about the precariat back then. That's how long that's been kind of growing for, and probably even before that, where like jobs are more and more becoming those like casual, temporary things, and people are trying to join them together to make actual career. So yeah, but that's it. I didn't really have anything beyond that point.
Yeah. It's interesting regarding like AI. I mean, I was reading something this morning that they were saying there's like about $2.5 billion that's going to be put into the federal budget.
I don't know what that is. I saw the thing. I was like, maybe you could look at like the Jon Stewart. Like,
people
what's it going to be like for humans?
It's always frivolous. These announcements of we're going to throw money here and there. I was watching a segment from a real estate agent last night, and it was really interesting. And he was piling in. The gentleman was piling in about affordability. He was talking about housing. And all these announcements from the federal government, from the Liberal government, the federal, and all these, how they're going to help renters, and I mean, really, like, I mean, the cost of building housing right now. Yes, we need housing. And what I worry about is people with disabilities, because is that if they don't give, if the amount is not high enough to pay the market rent, the word affordability just drives me batty, because what is affordable? Like for who? Like, and there's
like brand new affordable. That's an oxymoron. Like it's like responding to it. Sorry, I'm just going to cut in. Responding to what Minnie was talking about before with Doug Ford. Yeah. What the hell was with the fourplexes thing? Like, I just quickly looked up fourplexes on here, and he's like, I don't want these towering fourplexes, like 6 stories into the sky. I'm like, dude, that's a little house. It's like 4. They're not that, like. So why would, like, he can't be that stupid? Like, there must be some reason why he's against something that. Oh yeah, you could actually increase how many people you could fit per thing, and then when you've also got that property rights thing, it's like. Oh dear!
It's not hard to see where the it's not hard to see where the owners of the country are standing on things. As far as Ford goes, he built a highway to nowhere, cost us $10 billion, and it benefited property developers. It's nothing for the average person.
I mean, I'm a basic income person. Ford, where I could easily go.
Exactly.
So, you know what?
I totally agree.
He's Trump light,
Well, I mean, here's part of the problem too: is the building places. I mean, the building materials, all the taxations that the government said doesn't matter which level they are, they keep on throwing tax in because they're tax hungry, right? So the more tax they get, the happier they are. And but the problem is that actually affects the consumers, because the affordability of renting or maybe even owning. I mean, these prices of property taxes. I mean, then there's transfer taxes. There's all the GSTs and all these other taxes. They all get compounded down. And I was talking to a developer who builds places. And I remember way back when I lived in Langley, because they were building places. And I said, well, how much are these places going to be? He goes, well, I can't live here. What? He goes, I build these places. I can't afford to live here. I go, why not? You make good money. He goes, I make good money. But by the time that this place is built, the price is now going to balloon up even higher, because now you got all the other municipal taxes, all the delays, all the red tape. They need to cut all the red tape across the country. He says, otherwise, we're going to have a big problem on our hands. He said that starts with municipal, provincial, federal. And I said, well, why wasn't stuff built? Like, I was curious, like hearing it from, the people building. He goes, because it's been neglected.
Here's the thing I've said, Brent, and we've talked about this before with my tiny home thing, and I won't dip down a rabbit hole too deeply here, but if I took my rent at $12.60 a month for 10 years, if I could get my ODSP to apply as a mortgage, I could own I could pay off a tiny home in 10 years.
Right, and you would have
an asset. Based on what I'm paying. What the problem is, though, and I'm part of a couple of community groups on Facebook and stuff that are pushing the tiny home thing within the municipal level, and none of these NIMBY type politicians at the local levels will open their mind to it. And the tiny home thing is not for everyone, but if we can open the door on the tiny home conversation, then we can start talking about container apartments and all sorts of other modular homes. But what happens is you've got, and I hate to use the patriotic state, but patriotic, whatever they call it, I can't say it properly, but you've got a bunch of NIMBYs.
No, I know what you mean.
You got a bunch of NIMBYs that are going, not my backyard.
Exactly.
I don't want a trailer park in my backyard, because that's what they'll call it. And it's just the same as it's the same as Doug Ford going, I don't want fourplexes in fancy neighborhoods. It's the same. It's this whole not in my back. What's funny with Doug Ford is he opened that policy where you can put 3 or 4 properties, or is it 2 or 3 properties extra on top of another property? So you can have like a guest house and an laneway house, and yet on the same token, he'll go, you can build an extra rental place on your property, but we don't want it in our backyard.
It's like deferring to certain kinds of people, not other kinds of people, basically. It's like, I'll allow a house with a guest house because that's this kind of person, as opposed to a fourplex that's
a renter. Now, we don't want those renters.
People against people.
Well, we'll go to Minnie in just a second, but I just wanted to make a programming announcement as the editor producer. Next Monday, we're actually going to have just before your train break, your across the country train break. Our last show is going to be next Monday, and next Monday's show is all going to be about affordable housing ? Affordable housing ? So that's going to be the panelist show for next Monday. So everybody can look forward to that one. And we'll go to Minnie next for comment.
I partially lost my thought, but some of it's still here.
Okay.
So I found the Constitution for the Liberal Party. Ooh. They both believe in dignity for the human being and the well-being of Canada. Again, what does that mean? So both of the major parties both believe in dignity, life of Canadians, but they're still screwing the low-income population over and over again. And then, so if you somehow get out of low income to median income to higher income, that takes a while. And you have to change your belief system that the system is out to get you. If you constantly believe the system is out to get you, you remain low income, regardless of how much resources, programs they make. If you believe, I can't get ahead, inflation, if you blame it on external factors that you don't control, that part keeps you poor. Like, just because my financial journey, I document on my YouTube channel that I'm on a journey to become a millionaire living with a disability, because I change my habits and my core belief about myself, and what used to trigger my darkest part of my life. I had to stop blaming it on, I'm Black, the government, No, I read every damn policy there is in ODSP. I looked at every financial number limitation that they put in the policy as a milestone. So ODSP says you can have $40,000 in assets Okay, let's have $40,000 in assets. Then there's a section of the policy says if you have too much assets, they review your eligibility, then you move over to extended health benefits or transitional benefits, or they give you $500 for leaving ODSP. They actually give you money to leave and go away.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
then if
It's
it all
cram, kid.
pretty much. But then if let's say my assets, most of my assets are investments. So like it's my FHSA, which is the first home savings account that I opened,
Yeah.
which most people are not thinking to open it. But when Alun was talking about buying a home on ODSP income, you're never going to get approved for a mortgage because they know ODSP can be taken back. So you need another income source or a co-signer who has enough income to fully fund the mortgage.
Yep.
Then tiny homes, they're really only in the United States. Then to move to the United States with a disability, they're not going to take you in because you drain their system.
Yeah.
So everybody here is stuck where they are unless they marry somebody with money or they make enough money to move to another province that has cheaper cost of living, or they figure out a way to climb out of the system that we already have in place because these political parties believe we can work really hard to get out of the system.
Oh,
They're not making
You
it
know-
easier. Like they're not making it easier to get out of the system. They gave you a couple of pockets, a couple of lifeline pockets. If you grab onto them and you maximize the system available in it, you could work hard and get out of it. Like my grandmother coming to Canada in the 70s, she already had my dad as a teenager. Then she came here. She worked really hard cleaning people's houses. That's not something immigrant mom family want to do when they have children back home in their home country, but she did it. Then she went to night school. She became a nurse. She bought a house. Her house that I remember as her first house, it could be her second or third, I have no idea, was a triplex. The triplex, she rented out the second floor. She gave my dad the top floor because he was going through the divorce. But it's a triplex. She used that triplex to buy a house in Mississauga because I wanted the curved stairhouse, the staircase, the curved staircase like in the Barbie Dream house. But that triplex house that was in Toronto was worth like $2 or $5 million. That she and they kept that house when they moved to Mississauga. So then if they were smart enough to keep both houses, my future inheritance would be a lot of money.
Can I
assuming I'm getting it.
Can I ask
assuming I'm getting it? Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Did you get the pink Corvette?
Yeah, I had the remote control car.
No, but did you
and
get
the minivan.
Did you get the Did you get the real pink Corvette?
Oh yeah, that no, I still don't drive. But that's a whole nother thing of not owning a car in a big city because I can access public transit. But just the way that both parties are claiming they want to help the well-being of Canadians. Okay, majority of the well-being of Canadians are disabled. Their well-being, like the way the homeless people population live in tents are, they are so far gone in their psychosis, the amount of rehab and funding and programs you need to do to rebuild a person from a psychotic state of mind, that if they're living in that for decades, it takes a lot longer to recover. And these people that like they're acting, oh, it's fine. We got home. It's like it's a 2-year waiting list to get mental health support. I was in crisis. I got my doctor to make the referral. We waited for the referral. If I didn't apply for every single program, I wouldn't move up a list in a different program. Then when the program finally contacted me, it was 2 years waiting. Then they said, we can take your file for intake now. I said, you know what? I went and saved myself. I don't need you. I literally I can't wait on a government program for mental health supports to be ready to take care of me to go through treatment when they're taking too long. So how am I supposed to be? How am I supposed to be part of the gross domestic product, be a good productive employee or self-employed business if my mental health state is completely shot?
Well, yeah, I mean, all that delay.
Mental health Work Day was like yesterday or something. What have they really done to help the mental health of the Canadian population? Almost nothing.
Zero.
But they want taxes, they want economy, they want babies, they want all these things. I can't do that as a female body who could have children, but I don't anymore because I got surgery and I cut off the tubes. I can't do that if my mental state is too jacked up. There's no way I want to push out babies that raise until 18, get on the child tax benefit, then great, they're 18, 16 working, you take taxes off their income, and then we do it all over again if they have children. It's not going to happen. You've psychologically damaged so many people in the population. They're not thinking anything to help in the economy in any way whatsoever.
And people on ODSP with the rules being so punitive as they are, is if you as soon as you get married, it's like, oh well, the other person's going to support you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like the rules are so
But
so
most people
set
on
that
disability don't believe they're even dateable, let alone marriage material.
Yeah.
Like
that
you're
is
like
true.
to get to the point of being dateable, then have a person say, "Hey, I want to spend the rest of my life with you." Takes a lot of work. I'm not going to marry somebody whose self-confidence is worse than mine. What the fuck is that? I'm not going to
Yeah.
take a like no way. They
Yeah.
need to be way bigger and stronger mentally than me to hold me up. I'm not going to be doing that for them. If they're like, "Oh, I can't get a job and I can't do this and oh my God." No, stay on the street. No, no, no way. You're not gonna come in my house and stay in my house and do nothing, drinking beer and playing video games all day. You need to be productive, doing stuff, be the male provider, and actually take care of me, who's actually the sick person.
Yeah, there's a lot of stigma related to that too.
I got a friend of mine. She and I are really close, and we've kind of got this friendship thing that is kind of it's like a relationship with all the knots and the tangles and all that shit. So I think in a lot of people who are disabled are kind of like, how am I even going to get into a situation where I have a companion, let alone even think about the marriage road, even think about sharing a place where you're not even sure whether the owners are going to go knock on your door and say, "Hey, sorry, I know you've been here 3 years, but we just put the property up for sale and we think we've got a buyer. So we wish you the best of luck."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even to go down that route with someone who has a disability, that when you're on, whether it's a Ash in Alberta or PWD in BC or ODSP, it's like it is such a shit show, and you're driven into this situation where you're on your own more than you with people, unless you're in a group home situation where you're going on outings. Like me, I come home to an empty apartment. I leave an empty apartment. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fortunate that I've got my friend who lives an hour away from me that wants to do stuff together. But otherwise, it's a lonely fucking life.
Yeah.
Even if you got the supports of like Passport, which is through the Disability Service Ontario. Some people are lucky enough to have that.
That is I want to take that to the Human Rights Tribunal, actually, because I've applied for Passport and I was told that because my IQ isn't below the 50th percentile, I won't get it. And I'm sorry, but if you're picking and choosing what kind of disability to support, that's discrimination.
I got on it by a fluke. I
thought I might just take the test and flunk it. I'll just pick all the wrong answers.
I had to do this huge 2-hour assessment with a psychologist and everything in Niagara through Bethesda, and then that assessment, which took 6 weeks to put together, then went to DSO to be appraised, and then I had to do a 2-hour assessment with DSO, with 2 people as advocates for me to be there, and then I got passed through. So it was 1.5 years before I even got my passport funding, and then I've got a company called Lean on Me, which is an agency, and they take 10% of the $5,500 I get, and they handle all the paperwork. So, which is nice because I can send my cell bill and my internet to Passport.
It's a big deal. I mean, I got family members that have intellectual disabilities, so they got it no problem. Like my brother and his wife, they both got it. And then they bought a brand new MacBook, brand new iPhone.
Yeah, you got $3,000 and you got $3,000 a year in technology
per year. I mean, that's plus it's up to $44,000 per year per person. And that's for like support. So I'm sorry, we're stuck with $15,000 a year if we don't get it.
You make a great point. You make a great point, Patrick, because that's actually been the backbone of my most recent human rights complaint is that all of these policies that the governments have they just cherry pick, right? And like you said over and over again, Brent, is this whole idea of like PWD versus PWD or disabled versus disabled, and
divide and conquer.
Yeah, and it's just like, the policy shouldn't be cherry picking, because if they're cherry picking, that is discrimination, and that's what.
It actually is. It absolutely is, because I've got things like where I was in a co-op and I was on ODSP, and they were going through this lottery of how many people in the co-op got rent to gear control, and they told me I wasn't eligible for rent gear. I'm like, if I'm not eligible, I don't know who is, because I was one of the only people in the lottery of 10 people that had a disability. And they're like, sorry, we're not picking you.
Well, you see, there's another issue too, where there's a lot of places that have been built. There's tons. For millions of places need to be built, but there are places that are built, but they're not reachable for the average income earner. If they did an RGI based on the individual, not the household, but individual autonomy, so that now if something goes sideways in a person's relationship, or maybe the other person has to move, whatever, they're now going to take that, where they can still pay that money to the owner of the property, or the manager who administers the on behalf of the owner. Now they can still have a decent place they can live in. And I think I don't have the magic solution. I know I talked to a minister who Neil and I had on the show, and I threw it out there and she said, "Oh, that was brilliant. That's a brilliant idea." Mm-hmm. But after, when I made the comment, I didn't really emphasize on it needs to be based on the individual, not the household, because the household, it can really damage a household eligibility, because now if a person's income gets too high based on the on the household, now some of them may not qualify for RGI. Yeah. So some of them have to now move out. I guess that's part of the fear that I worry is based on the federal government. I think it's all based on policies, really. They're looking at the voters base, who can we target? And I think that closer to the election time federally, that dangling carrot, hey, vote for us, we got your best interest. But do they?
Yeah.
Do they? I think it would be nice to come up with some solutions based on existing programs, and I think tweaking things that are out there makes a lot of sense. Like RDSP, if you qualify for RDSP, you should qualify, like it should be reciprocal. If you qualify for ODSP, you should automatically qualify for RDSP, not have to apply twice for.
Oh, I agree with you, Patrick, on that.
And as far as RDSP, why can't we borrow against that or use that as our mortgage collateral? Right. It should be. It's a lot of money. It could be up to $200,000. That
my RDSP right now is just around the $30,000 mark, and I've been paying into it since 2009.
Okay, I want to get to Minnie, but I want to get to Minnie, but I also want to get to Tom. So I'll let Minnie talk first, and then we'll go to Tom.
Since we're now talking about the RDSP, it's designed to be there for retirement. If you take out money before you need it in retirement, you make yourself more poor in retirement. Like mine is $81,000 because I put in every penny I have in that account. I even take out cash advances from credit cards to make sure I get my match and my registered disability savings plan. This is the one thing that my parents are actually giving me money on time to go into that account. They don't believe I have a disability. So here we are, we're talking about households and their income, and then RDSP. So with households, most immigrant families, they believe the family can take care of the person with the disability. Okay, great. So if I lived at home, my grandma, my mom, my dad all make over $100,000 a year. I would be screwed. Yeah. Instantly screwed. If I didn't move out at 18 years old, end up in that housing situation that got charged for forcible confinement, then I got victims compensation, then I got on Ontario Works, then I got on ODSP, then I got on the housing waiting list for housing. But because I wasn't currently in a domestic violence situation, I didn't move up the list. So then when I got this apartment, is because I rebuilt my credit. So this apartment saw my credit was 720. They thought I worked at Shopping Channel. I was for like a minute. And then I got into this apartment 2007. I'm here now. ODSP pays them directly. They get their check at head office, and I still live here. But if I for me to access other things, I would have to be mentally worse than what I was of treating depression, bipolar, post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a couple like therapy sessions, access to programs, and then go back to work. CAMH was so determined to get me back to work.
Wow.
In a job that had a higher suicide rate in call center. So I'm working in adult entertainment. I was making 6 figures a year, but because I didn't have enough income to pay for my own EI, health insurance, all those things by myself, because my parents believe a job would give me those benefits. And then while I'm on my family insurance, I get kicked off at 26. Then I'm on Ontario Works, bouncing off Ontario Works, and now I'm on ODSP. I just realized the dentist, I've been there for 13 years because they're the one dentist that treated me respectfully because my insurance is ODSP. If they weren't doing that, my teeth would probably fall out. I got lucky.
Yeah, same with
Yes, I don't eat a lot of coffee. I don't eat a lot of candy, all those other things. But like, my family set up a certain thing that I was already accustomed to. Then to be on your own, to keep what you're accustomed to, means you have to make more money. And if you're on social assistance and your teeth go down, then the rest of your health go down and all the other things go down, your mental health, and you don't get access to certain things in the system unless you become mentally worse or physically worse. Like they wanted me to be homeless before they gave me certain things. And then when I went through Law 416 and the other community programs, their big thing was trying to get me into a job when I was facing homelessness. How am I supposed to be competitive in an employer environment, that the job keeps me there, that I'm not being, discriminated against at the job because of my clothing, if I didn't shower or all those other things, or I didn't play well with others in the work environment. There's so many other things that keep a person whole that the government and other programs are not supporting at all. And the RDSP, that it's already designed from the federal government for people in retirement, like people accessing CPP disability before they're 64 on ODSP, and ODSP claws back how much money you get from CPPD, assuming you're in a job long enough paying into the CPP.
Yeah, that's the thing,
So,
right?
like, great, okay, we get money in our present self, but our future self, we get worse off. Like people, like you get people become disabled more as they get older. Okay. But the safety net for seniors is supposed to protect your disability and your healthcare costs when you're older. Like the Canada dental plan that they're making right now, most seniors need it. Most dentists are not taking it. Most of the dentists that are claiming that their senior patients need it, they're not enrolling in the program because they're worried about the paperwork. Do the fucking paperwork. It's guaranteed money from Sun Life Insurance paying you a bill to take care of patients. What was the point of these dentists going into school claiming I want to help people and they don't take the money?
It's all that red tape.
I think. Sorry, Patrick. We're already at the end of the show a little bit. I just wanted to.
I don't have any comment. Really.
Really? Okay. Well,
other than more dentists should do payment plans, but anyway.
No, that's true. I mean, like for me,
but the reason they don't is in the conservative plan of being a free economy enterprise.
Yeah. And I've said a lot the same thing with as many is that. The only reason my teeth aren't falling out too is because my dentist has agreed to pay everything for me too, and my son, and and that's just out of the goodness of their heart that they're doing that, right? And so I'm very blessed that way. But so we are at the end of the show, so I don't know if you want to do a final comment, and then we can do a song outro if you want to. Tom, up to you.
Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today to our very condensed show. But it was actually really filled, heart-packed, and slam-packed with lots of info. We're going to do a follow-up down the road on this. Closer to the federal budget comes out on the April 16th. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the what's going to happen there. I don't think anything's really going to be all rosy. I think it's going to be kind of like, what you said, Minnie. It's, well, here's some for some, and then, well, we're going to wait another year for the rest, but there's more to do. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm hoping I'm wrong, because people are suffering now. Let's just get a dirt out in the meantime, and let's help people out, help Canadians out. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it out to Tom to a little bit of a music outro for us. Stay tuned for...
I just had a chorus thing. It was like, I don't know if anyone's seen the light around here darken, but we were supposed to have just gone through it or something, but anyway. And really tonight, forever's gonna start tonight. Forever's gonna start to. Once upon a time I was falling in love. Now I'm only falling apart. Nothing I can do. Total eclipse of the heart.
Yeah, here we are.
A total eclipse of the sun. Yeah.
Somewhere. Kind of boring over here.
Yeah.
We're supposed to see it.
You see it?
So
Yeah. Nice.
I thought there'd be crowd at Niagara, but I don't know. Maybe it's amazing over there or something. But
Yeah.
so it's supposed to come to Alun, Kingston. So
yeah. So again, as a programming note, next Monday will be the last show for a while, but we're gonna have a affordable housing. It'll be the panelists coming back for our affordable housing discussion, and then you get to go on your train trip.
I get to go on my train trip, and stay tuned for any traveling segments. Maybe a Breaking with Brent segment. Who knows where I'm gonna pop up, because my segment goes as far as Toronto, but who knows where that may end up being. So that might be a little snippet there for people to kind of, whoa, hey, this might be interesting. To tune in. So just watch, you'll see.
Yeah.
Until then, everyone, thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time around.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Thanks everyone.
Cheers.